Geek Vibes Live is rated G for geek.
Hey, this is Matt Lesher.
This is Phil Lamar.
Hey, this is Ruffalo Taylor, a.k.a. the Penguin from Gotham, and you are listening to Geek Vibes Live.
And here we go.
Are you tired of watching the same old awesome movies? Are B-movies more your style? Then the folks over at They Call This a Movie have you covered. Join us every Thursday as we review the worst of the worst in sci-fi, action, comedy, and more. We are available on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, and Podbean at theycalledthisamovie.podbean.com. They Called This a Movie, testing the strength of friendships, one terrible movie at a time.
Welcome to an all-new episode of Geek Vibes Live. I'm your host, Jawan, and today we have a very special show. Before I get into who I am joined with today, I wanted to give a shout-out to Tia, who is celebrating, well, her birthday was Friday, but she's celebrating her birthday weekend, so she is not on with us today. But she did find time to record a episode of Top 10 with Brittany, and I believe they were taking on Snowpiercer, so make sure you guys go check that out. And also, it's not too late to still wish Tia a happy belated birthday, so make sure you guys go do that. Now, without further ado, welcoming the guy that I'm so grateful was able to join me tonight for this episode, Dan. What's going on, Dan?
Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, man?
I'm good. Just enjoying my quarantine, I guess. Trying to live one day at a time.
Yeah, that's legit all we can do. But
yeah,
to alert the audience, anyone who is still being quarantined, you now have plenty of time to listen to an all-new episode of They Called This a Movie. And I believe you guys are taking on Leprechaun 4?
Correct. Leprechaun 4 in space.
Yeah.
It was terrible. It was so bad.
Yeah.
But,
100%.
St. Patrick's Day coming up Tuesday. No excuses, guys. Get in on that. Join in on the Leprechaun fun.
Absolutely. I'll once they did Leprechaun in the Hood, I said I think it's best I stop watching these movies. Once you just make a movie called Leprechaun in the Hood, it should just tell you you're not really looking for a good movie. You're looking for a really bad comedy, and that's what those movies turned into. Even though I will say, historically, I will never forget, scared the hell out of me. In the first one where he puts his fingers through the phone in Jennifer Aniston's ear. I'll never forget that. I still think that first one is classic, but everything after that is just, it's cannon fodder. It's just really bad.
The first one is, it definitely holds its place within, like, B-movie horror history. But after that, it gets silly real quick.
Yeah, it snowballs itself. It's really hard to do that, but it found a way to snowball itself. But yeah, make sure you guys check out an all-new episode of They Called This a Movie. I gave you guys a drop. I told you guys what the episode was. You are quarantined, so there is no excuse. Go out, listen to an all-new Top 10, and listen to an all-new They Called This a Movie. All right, let's get into the pod. We got a Black Widow trailer. I said this on Much To Do About Nothing with Joel this past Thursday. It was kind of more so same as the last footage that we saw from Black Widow. I think, if anything, this is a bit more of Taskmaster than it was Black Widow. So I'll start by asking you your initial thoughts on the final trailer, which I'll say maybe it might not be the final trailer, because if this movie doesn't come out in May like it's scheduled to right now, and let's say they push it back to like August or October, I doubt they will, but let's say they do, wouldn't you kind of agree that you might have to put out another trailer to remind people? Because I mean, I think you're betting a lot on people going, oh no, I saw that trailer all the way in March, like it's now October, like I remembered it. I'm good. I would think you'd have to repackage something, right?
100%. Yeah, I think that's what you do with worst case scenario if they do push it back. I think what is it? Still 40 something days away from releasing. So I think that's a good amount of time. I think they should be in the clear, but the way the box office has just been getting killed recently, they might err on the side of caution. I could, if they do move it to August or October or something like that, you absolutely have to come out with another trailer just to keep it fresh in people's minds. As far as the trailer itself went, I liked seeing more of Taskmaster and what he's all the things that he's copying, all the different heroes that we got. Some Black Panther in there. We got a lot of people are saying that the way he lands is like Spider-Man-esque. I still think it's more Black Panther-ish. And I think it didn't sway me from wanting to see it or not see it. I was going to see this regardless, but I like to see that Taskmaster has some pretty sick moves, and him going up against David Harbour's character. I'm excited. I think it's going to be good.
Did you notice the camera, the small camera on the mask of Taskmaster?
No, I didn't. Is that him recording all of the moves that he sees? That's cool.
So
I
it
didn't
looks
notice that.
like potentially he could record live time. Like let's say he's standing above, and Black Widow is fighting like a whole bunch of henchmen. Like it looks like he could record it right there, and then like it processes in his mind, and then he can go out and duplicate it right there. Is what it looks like. I'm not saying it like I know. I'm saying just what it looks like. I thought that to me was more intriguing than anything. I really don't. I don't know where to land. I saw someone that compared that Taskmaster kick to when Iron Man kicked Thanos in Infinity War, and I'm kind of just like, I don't know. I do think we're all killing ourselves trying to figure out who of the Avengers he's copying. I just say this. It's safe to say all of them. So we don't have to look at a particular move and say, oh, that's this one's or that one. Let's just say he knows everyone's moves. He knows everyone's moves. I don't really know how you copy Spider-Man, but who knows? I mean, he looks like he has T'Challa's claws, albeit maybe not vibranium, even though I have a theory about that. So who knows? Maybe he has some kind of web fluid that, maybe isn't as strong as Spider-Man's. Who knows?
Like
who
a
knows?
prototype
Taskmaster.
or something.
Yeah. Or it's like a string, or it's like a ripcord kind of projectile instead of a web, but he uses it kind of like Spider-Man uses his webs. Like it's a dagger at the tip of it, so like it sticks into buildings and he can retract it. We're going crazy with the theories here. But I'm saying it wouldn't be out of the realm of what Taskmaster is able to do. So, I mean, I just was telling everyone, like, just say that he's copying all the Avengers. It's less stressful. If you think about it that way.
It was cool to see him watching her Black Widow scene from Iron Man 2 in Hammer's building. And it's basically him studying all of her moves there. So you get a nice little call back to Iron Man 2. And they do show at like towards the end, I think, Natasha coming face to face with Taskmaster. And you kind of see like that look on her face where she looks like she's outmanned here. She's in a lot of trouble. So it's good to see her in actual trouble because she's a character who, for the most part, has things well in hand, and she's very crafty, and maybe she's playing a trick with him, I don't know. But then you do get that spoiler scene with her sister, and it looks like the sister, she's kind of, she's pushing up daisies, possibly.
Well, I wanted to ask you about that because apparently a lot of people are going around with the idea that it's a good chance that there's facial reconstruction with Yelena. I think that's her name, Yelena or something like that.
Yelena.
I think it is. In the trailer, you see someone did like a screenshot of it. You see she's on one of those gurneys, completely tied up with like dots around her face, and you see like surgical equipment. I don't know. I don't like to Feige a lot of credit, right? But I don't know if I'm willing to say Feige is, I'd say dumb enough, not brave enough, dumb enough. Because the theory that people are saying, Dan, is maybe she did facial swap with Black Widow, so she was the Black Widow that died in Endgame, and Black Widow is still alive out there. And I don't really like that. I don't really like that. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't truly care because I wasn't that big of a Black Widow fan to begin with. It took for this movie for me to really feel like she's turning into the Black Widow that I've always read in the comics. That was way more espionage than big Avenger battles. That's why I'm like, Winter Soldier was perfect. But then obviously when you did Captain America 3, you completely left the element that Winter Soldier kind of set up, and you went more into the Avengers world. I wasn't that big of a fan of that, but I don't blame Scarlett Johansson. I don't have a dislike for Scarlett Johansson. I just have a dislike for the direction that they put her character in. We should have only seen Black Widow as often as we see Nick Fury. If she wasn't going to have her solo earlier on, or if you weren't going to do a movie with her and Hawkeye, just so we can just get more of the espionage, the spy Natasha. Because that's all I remember is spy Natasha. Now we have a whole new generation that will only remember Avengers Natasha. And I'm not saying that she was never with the Avengers in the comics, because she clearly was. But we got a lot more solo story of Black Widow where it just fleshed her out better. But sorry, I'm rambling here. I want to ask you, do you lean into this whole facial swapping?
Oh God, I hope not. That would be terrible. That would be so upsetting. But because you give her, and I agree, for a character who is essentially, she's a spy, and they even mentioned that in the first Avengers movie. You know, she's not a soldier, and throwing her into cosmic battles, it's out of character. But you build her up in such a way, and then you give her such a satisfying ending in Endgame, just to turn around and say, just kidding, it was her sister. And I feel like that would be a big betrayal to us as fans that have been along with this journey. So unless it's like a scroll type of thing going on with Yelena, or maybe they are able to save her a la Bucky, where, you know, he fell to his doom, but somehow they recovered him. Maybe they're able to revive her and she becomes evil. I don't know, but I would be very, very upset if that wound up being the case, that it's a face swap.
Yeah, to me, I think it's lazy. Because to me, it kind of feels more like, oh, maybe we shouldn't have killed her in Endgame. And to me, my biggest issue is time travel and the idea of beings like the Skrulls, to me, are not very well construed in live action, only because you then get people who maybe aren't as knowledgeable as we are of the comics and can't really separate the two, who will then go, oh, well, if Skrulls exist, maybe Skrull Tony is who died, and it wasn't Tony. And then you kind of snowball. Just like if you go, oh, Barry can go back in time. Oh, maybe he can go back and save this one or save that one. And it's like, no, that's not how this is supposed to work. Like, not at all. Not at all. So it always gets a little tricky. I mean, I can't tell you, Dan, how pissed I was sitting in that theater for Far From Home. Because I've been saying since Winter Soldier that Nick Fury was a Skrull. So picture me watching Far From Home, seeing him turn into a Skrull, and feeling like, I told you guys. I told everyone. I was saying it well before it was cool to say it. And then they show that Nick Fury still exists. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Like, you were there. You could have done it. Like, you could have actually done it to where you would have blown people away. Because people would have been like, wait, so when was he a Skrull? Like, when did the transformation happen? When did he switch over?
Right.
And instead they were like, nah, we wanted to play on the idea of it because we heard you guys. And I'm like, I hate you. Like, I hate you, Feige. I hate you people that did Far From Home, John Watts. Like, I hate all of you. But to me, it's kind of
so
like it's. Oh no, I was so angry. Joel goes, "How did you like the movie?" And I'm like, "No, I loved it till that end credit scene." And he was like, "How did you not like it?" I'm like, "I wanted Nick Fury to be a Skrull, like so desperately. I wanted Nick Fury to be a Skrull because it was the perfect quote unquote died, and then Captain America sees he's still alive. You could have easily said he was swapped, easily.
Yeah.
But no, of course not. Of course, I can't get anything that I want. Of course. But no, back to the trailer. A lot of people are saying it's kind of obvious that the guy that was on stage for San Diego Comic-Con, I can't remember his name, but he was saying at San Diego Comic-Con his character would be like the love interest of Natasha, or the past love interest of Natasha. He then, once the trailer came out, went on Instagram, posted obviously about the trailer, and then put #TM. So a lot of people are believing he is Taskmaster. I almost 100% believe he's Taskmaster, mainly because he hasn't been in any of the promotional stuff till recently. Like, they just now put him in. And the one time they put him in is the one time there is no Taskmaster. So I'm like, that kind of like seems like if it quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck.
Right.
So did you get that same feel?
Yeah, I think they're just trying to hope the majority of people overlook that. Like, oh, who's this guy? And don't put two and two together. But I saw that Instagram post. Who else could he possibly be?
Yeah.
I mean, you can only pull the wool over so many people's eyes, I guess. But and, you know, if that's the case, I don't see why they needed to hold back on that. But whatever, it's clearly him.
Now I will say this: we know Marvel very well, right? And we know they have a proclivity of pulling the wool over our eyes. So it could be the case that Joel was saying he heard a theory that this guy has a daughter, and some of the movie is him as Taskmaster. Then Natasha thinks that she kills him. You know, it's over. You know, he's dead, and then Taskmaster reappears, but it's his daughter now.
Interesting.
So I'm like, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily hate it because in the comics that was the case. His daughter was there for a bit. To me, it's all about execution. I know a lot of fans are gonna be butthurt. Oh my God, why did you make Taskmaster a girl? Like, to me, I honestly don't care if Taskmaster is a guy for like 45% of this movie, I could live with it. It just hasn't really hit. It has to be good. But I mean, you telling me that not an all female, but majority female led movie having a female villain, it just kind of goes hand in hand. Essentially, It's exactly what Wonder Woman is doing to a degree. So I'm like, I wouldn't really hate it. How would you feel if they went that route?
I wouldn't mind that. And like you said, as long as the execution is there, I don't care what character is really gender, race, whatever. I think you start getting into, people start to get a little more touchy when it's well-known characters. Like, oh, well, so-and-so isn't this race, so-and-so isn't this gender. But I think if you're talking about Taskmaster, no one's going to care because your average person doesn't even know who Taskmaster is. And I've messaged with plenty of friends who will be like, oh, so who's the bad guy? Oh, Taskmaster. What's a Taskmaster? And you have to explain what he does and what the whole story there. So if they went that route, I think they could pull it off. I think it could be well done. But at the same time, if it's shown early, I'm like, oh, well, she's the bad guy now. It's fairly obvious. But I don't care. If you want to go that route, go for it. Again, you have a female cast with a female director, I believe. Actually, there's a female director on this movie. Why not just round out the trio?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's never an issue for me. And what's funny about me saying that is, I was saying on last episode, that's why I was like, I needed Dan on that one. I was saying how there was rumors that Sophia Lillis and Millie Bobby Brown were going to be the faces of the rebooted Power Rangers. Like Sophia would be the Red Ranger, Millie would be the either Blue or Black Ranger. And I expressed how much I hated that. And I was saying how, like, it's going to sound really misogynistic, when I go into why I hate it. But it has nothing to do with, you making Rangers women. My issue is we have not seen the Power Rangers done correctly. Until they're done correctly, don't change stuff. What didn't work about the last one, well, let me say that better. You having a male as the Red Ranger is not why the last one did not do well. Like, people weren't like, man, if only all the Rangers were women, I think I would have liked this movie. No one said that. So I'm like, changing this completely, I don't like that. Like, I don't like that. Now, if that movie was a lot better and we had 2 more of it, and then they were like, we want to reboot it, go a different route, I wouldn't have an issue because, Dan, we know this. Power Rangers has changed almost every year since 92. Yeah. So I'm like, yeah, that's completely fine. And Joel was saying, well, what if they weren't Mighty Morphin? I'm like, well, then I don't care because you're creating something new. But if they're Mighty Morphin, no. Like, no, you're not going to make my Red Ranger female. I said, if you want, why not do something different like making the Green Ranger female? I thought that would have been better for the last series that they had, for them to, instead of Tommy, male, Tomi, Tommy. She's a female. Yeah. She's kind of a little rough and rugged, and she becomes the new Green Ranger. It would make sense because in that franchise, the original Green Ranger was a woman because it was Elizabeth Banks' character. It was Rita. So I'm like, that would be perfectly fine. But you trying to tell me you want to make Mighty Morphin Power Rangers with an all-female cast? No. Nope. You wouldn't get not a dime of my money. I wouldn't care how good it looks. You wouldn't get any of my money. I'd never see it. I wouldn't see it when it came out on
see
DVD,
that happening,
TV, nothing.
You see that happen with a few franchises now, right? I mean, you had the Ghostbusters who decided to go all-female, and when I watched that movie, I will admit I was not feeling. I was like, well, I feel like you're just changing it to change it for, like, just to be flashy. Like, you're not trying to make a good story here. You're just trying to say, like, oh, look, we have women here now. Like, all right, well, why? And then I watched it, and I was like, you know what? This movie was not that bad, but I could totally understand why people didn't go see it. Right? You're deviating. You're doing a complete 180 here from a franchise that everyone loved. And I think that's the same thing that goes with the Power Rangers. If you decide to just go a complete 180 and change things just for being edgy, you're not going to win people over. That's not how we work.
See, I think the biggest issue that Ghostbusters movie faced wasn't that they were going so differently with having all females. I think the biggest issue was I left that movie going, this is one big Saturday Night Live skit. Like, it doesn't feel like Ghostbusters. It feels like these guys were trying to, like, it was like an anniversary of Ghostbusters that happened to fall on a Saturday night, and they were doing like a spoof episode of Ghostbusters. That's what it felt like. It felt like one big Saturday Night Live skit. There was barely any cohesion. Chris Hemsworth being the idiot, I don't want to say jock, but the idiot guy was kind of like a little offensive, but his guys were not allowed to say that. But, it was just, it wasn't good. It wasn't. Now, if you wanted to go a more serious route, because the original was a serious comedy, but it had serious elements. It wasn't just one big laugh factor. It was meant to be somewhat of this
Right.
just felt like I'm supposed to just sit here and laugh for an hour and 45 minutes, and none of it was funny. So I mean, that's just kind of where I put the ball there. But all female Power Rangers, I'm kind of like, if you're telling me this is a Power Rangers that never came on TV, this isn't Mighty Morphin, we're making something completely different, you have my curiosity. But when you tell me you're doing Mighty Morphin, no, nope, not a fan.
So you're saying no.
Go ahead.
That's a no from you,
yeah.
is what you're saying.
That's a huge
Okay.
no for me, and I hate to say it because Sophia Lillis just did. I'm not okay with this, or I'm so not okay with this. I think it's I'm not okay with this. Brilliant show. It's from the same director who did End of the Effing World. Brilliant show. She was amazing. I think she'd be a great. To me, I'm like, if you want to gender bend Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, blue is the color. I don't care if you gender bend. Black is the color. I don't care if you gender bend. Red, I'm sorry. I need Jason. I'm sorry. I know that sounds horrible, but I need Jason. You can take Billy. You can take Zach. You can take Tommy. I don't care. I need Jason. So to me, that's very important, mainly because if you make all the Rangers women, right, or you just go Red Ranger is a woman, Pink Ranger, Yellow Ranger, I then would ask you, where's your love interest? Because there was a love triangle between Tommy, Jason, and Kimberly. So are you telling me that you're doing like a lesbian angle? I guess it'd be progressive, but it's like it's so weird. Like just make it completely original. It would be my point. But who knows? We snowballed from Black Widow and got into this, but all in all, I think we both agree Black Widow was a really good, really solid trailer. I do have a theory that General Ross, and I want to ask you this, Dan. I know I'm putting you on the spot because it's hard to remember all these movies, but I was telling Joel, he was saying how he doesn't care, but I was telling him General Ross has never had a cane in any movie, but apparently it looks like this one. He didn't have it in Incredible Hulk. He didn't have it in Infinity War. He didn't have it in that brief cameo in Endgame. And he didn't have it, I think I said Civil War, or did I say Infinity War? Either or. He was in 4 Marvel movies, and he didn't have a cane. So the reason why the cane is important to me is because what if during this time he was experimenting on trials to make himself, trials that eventually would make him the Red Hulk. And it injured him. Like, it injured him badly. So, he had a bit of a limp. He had a bit of, some soreness. And then by the time Civil War came out, obviously he's all healed. He realized he should probably calm down on it. I'm completely reaching here, but when you saw him with the cane, did you have the mindset of who cares? Or were you kind of like, why does he have that cane? Like, was that intriguing to you at all?
Well, I have to tell you, I am totally on the Red Hulk train. I do feel he is going to emerge at one point. I am fully invested in that. I had heard that rumor as well, and I think you have him in it for a purpose. I just feel like that's one of the reasons. You got She-Hulk coming out at one point. You got Ruffalo joining on that project. We're primed for Red Hulk. We're overdue. We need Red Hulk. We got to do it. But as far as the cane goes, I noticed it, but I didn't really give it a thought. I just thought, maybe he's old now. Maybe he needs a cane. But then you brought up a good point. In Endgame, he doesn't have it. So what happened? What happened between this and Endgame that he's good now? Did Natasha go after him and cripple him? I don't know. Or did Taskmaster do it? I don't know. Or was he working on the same serum that maybe the Abomination, right? Because he had the super soldier serum there, and they mixed it. So I don't know. I am now intrigued, and I hope they answer it. I hope it's something awesome and not lame.
The biggest reason why it stood out to me is because this movie is supposed to take place between Civil War and Infinity War. Because that's why when you see him present day, where you kind of hear the voiceover of him and Natasha talking, it's because she's on the run. This, I believe, is after the events of Captain America breaking everyone out. So she's a fugitive. I think that's one of the biggest reasons why she decided to go home, because it's like, I can't be here, so I'll go home. So to me, I'm kind of like, well, I'll say this. The biggest reason I believe Ross is in this movie is to set up the Thunderbolt. I believe he will enlist Taskmaster to joining his team. I believe you'll see him here. I believe you'll see him in Falcon and Winter Soldier, or you'll hear about him. But I believe he is here to set up Thunderbolt. I think that's his biggest reason for being here. So, no, I don't think you'll get any Red Hulk in this movie at all, obviously. But I do think it is to set up what we could be seeing going forward. But last thing I want to say about this trailer before we move on is, did you notice the conversation Yelena was having with Natasha at the beginning of the trailer, where she was talking about the story that she had made up of Natasha's life?
No, I did not notice that. Is that when they were talking about the Red Room?
No, that was when she was saying how she was telling someone how Natasha was dating someone who was into, I'm paraphrasing here, who was into, you remember now?
And
okay, do you know who she was talking about?
Daredevil?
Do you know who she was talking about? No, she was talking about Bruce. She was talking about Bruce.
Oh, because I know in the comics she dates Daredevil for a while.
Oh yeah, big time. But they're not going to go into that. Especially if she's actually still they'll ever go into that.
Probably not.
Yeah, I think we've missed out on that completely. Even though that would have been so freaking dope. But yeah, she's actually talking about Bruce. She was talking about Bruce. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. When I found that out, I was like,
I
thought that was
dope. I think that's pretty nice. I like that. But again, to me, that's such a totally weird love story. I don't know why they needed to include that in there. I'm not the biggest fan of how they handled Hulk. But
I'm with you.
I'm not. It doesn't turn me off of Marvel, but I would have liked to have seen more Savage Hulk in my MCU.
Dan, this is why I love you. I said, I know Universal is very stingy about what they allow Feige to do with the Hulk, but I said you should have just did World War Hulk, to where he became so savage that they sent him to that planet where Thor ran into him, and then after that, Hulk comes back, wanting revenge, and we see the Avengers having to take down the Hulk. And then after that, if you wanted to go the route of Banner and Hulk kind of solve things, he's now a gentle giant, I could live with that. But the fact that Hulk had no redemption for just completely getting his ass smacked by Thanos is one of the only not the only. Mandarin and Whiplash is still very disappointing.
Can't forget that.
Yeah, those two are still very disappointing to me, but that is definitely high on my disappointing MCU events, is the fact that Thor had such a huge redemption arc. And I kind of feel like everyone did. Natasha, Clint, Iron Man, Cap. And Hulk was just kind of like, we need to show how strong Thanos is to people who don't read comics. So we're going to have him just completely wipe the floor with the strongest guy we have in our universe. And I did not like it.
And they don't even, in Endgame, in the final battle, they don't even cross paths, Thanos and Hulk. It's just, I mean, Bruce gets his little moment of glory when he snaps everyone back, which was nice. The whole, I feel like I was created for this. It's cool. But yeah, man, you got to go round two, man. You can't have your ass beat like that and then just, you don't go back for round 2, and you look soft.
Yeah, I'm completely
That's
with
not
you.
the Hulk
And
that I know.
no, it's not the Hulk that I know either, man. It surely isn't. But we do have a possibility of getting a flashback story, because we do know after the events of let me suggest this to you now that I know that we're on the same wavelength about the Hulk, right? Because we're transitioning into our next topic anyway.
Yeah.
I proposed this idea to Joel, and he was like, I kind of really love that. How dope would it be if we get a Hulk versus Wolverine story where this takes place after the Incredible Hulk? Remember when he went off to Canada or went off to like some place to meditate, right, and you saw him completely at peace. You could say the moment after that, S.H.I.E.L.D. was looking for Hulk because they deemed him to be dangerous, right?
Right.
And there was an attack, quite like the animated movie. There was an attack that seemed like it had Hulk written all over it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they send Wolverine out, and this is our first time seeing Wolverine. They send Wolverine out. Fury specifically sends Wolverine out to go hunt down the Hulk, right? And then you could kind of play into the whole Sabretooth really did it, and we get Wolverine, Hulk, and Sabretooth. That's where you have to leave it. I don't want to see Lady Shiva. I don't want to see completely forgot the guy, Omega. I don't want to see any of those guys. The movie, the movie went crazy. Just go Sabretooth, Hulk, Wolverine, right? And here's why I said this would be genius if you go that route. Do you remember what Banner Tasha in the first Avengers movie, where he alluded to the fact that this isn't the first time S.H.I.E.L.D. came looking for him?
Oh,
perfect.
Was that
you connect the dots right there? That was in the first Avengers movie.
Is that in India?
That was in India, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I mean, of course, I think every comic book fan wants that crossover. Like, everyone's dying for it. And I know, Hugh Jackman wanted to do it so badly. It just they couldn't get. This was before the merger, way before the merger happened. But Jackman, he's hung up the claws, and now we're waiting for the next one to come in. But oh my God, if you could pull off a good Hulk Wolverine movie. Did you ever read the Ultimate Hulk vs. Wolverine comic?
Yeah. Even though everyone always tells me Ultimate is just a more modern version of the original comics, I've only ever read Ultimate. Like I am the main reason I love the MCU today is because it's extremely Ultimate Universe. That's why Peter's so young. That's why Thor is more of an introvert rather than the Norse god. He seems more like not the environmentalist, but he seems more free, like the Ultimate Thor was, rather than he doesn't come down and say, "Smite thee, villain." Like, no, he doesn't do that. He's more of the Ultimate Thor. I love everything Ultimate, and that was a huge reason why when I heard Tom Holland got cast, and Tom Holland showed that photo of him, like, showing his six-pack with, like, his bangs hanging down, I'm like, oh, my God, he looks just like the Ultimate Spider-Man. I was like, holy crap. And then I knew from there, I'm going to love Tom Holland. Like, I'm going to love this kid. But I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I agree, because one of the first time we meet the Ultimate Thor, they think he's a mental patient. They think he's crazy. So when we first see Chris Hemsworth Thor, the same thing. They think he's just a nut job. They have him in a psychiatric ward. So it's cool to see the parallels there. And I mean, I would love to see in a Hulk Wolverine fight, Hulk just rip Logan in half, lower body up on the mountain. Oh man, that was one of my favorite panels in a comic book. Seeing him rip him in half.
I will say I doubt Marvel does that. I would freaking love it. I doubt they will do that. That is a bit too graphic. Even though that, for us, that would be, perfect. But no, to me, I think the idea of that is perfect because I don't think Wolverine should be introduced in the X-Men movies. I think he should already exist. And I think the best way to do that is to do a Hulk versus Wolverine movie. That way you kill two birds with one stone. You help me and Dan out by giving us more Savage Hulk, even though we probably won't see it going forward. We'll get a little bit more of a taste of it to where we're like, okay, I could die happy with this. We got Savage Hulk versus Wolverine, not this preppy douchebag versus Wolverine. Right, yeah, exactly. Not this idiot. We got the actual Savage Hulk versus Wolverine. And to me, you kill two birds with one stone. You could then say Nick Fury knew about mutants. Because obviously he was the one that enlisted Wolverine. There's just so much you could do with this that would just be so perfect. The X-Men movies could focus on the legit X-Men. To me, I think whenever you introduce Wolverine, people will think Wolverine is the leader. So I think the best thing to do is to have at least one or two movies, no Wolverine, establish Scott as the leader. Scott is the legit hands-down leader. Because the ones in the early 2000s were very confusing. Because I kind of felt like at any given point, those kids were kind of like, I kind of fear Mr. Logan more than I do you, Scott. So I'm going to listen to him. I'm curious what he has to say. So I think the best thing to do is give us the OG X-Men. Please do Gambit correctly. I want Gambit part of that team. I want Jubilee. I still hate that we had Jubilee but didn't have Jubilee. I want more Kitty Pryde. I want the OG X-Men, and then boom, you do a crossover and you blend in Wolverine, and then boom, there you go. You got your full X-Men team, and then you could lead into the future of X-Men versus the Avengers or House of M, whatever you want to do. You'll now have your full X-Men team, but Wolverine should be introduced 100% in a Hulk movie.
But I don't know if the one thing that I always thought was interesting, and I don't know if they planned on extrapolating this idea, in Age of Ultron, when we first are introduced to Wanda and Pietro, Cap says we have enhanced in the field. So it kind of makes it seem like they've come across other enhanced mutants in quotations. So I wonder if they've come across other mutants in their travels to shutting down Hydra. So that would be a cool way to connect the dots.
I think what Cap meant by enhance was he's seen other people with powers, maybe not necessarily to the level of those guys, but he just means enhanced humans. But they called them the Gifted, I think. The Gifted something, because they couldn't call them mutants.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how Feige's going to do this to where it makes sense. The fact that mutants have been here the entire time. Was I on the call with you when I said this, Dan? When I said it would be so dope if WandaVision ends with, you remember how in the comics of House of M, she said no more mutants and all the mutants disappeared? How dope would it be if WandaVision ends with her saying mutants, and that's how they're, like, you see a portal open, and then it just fades to black. And then Doctor Strange 2 picks up where that kind of leaves off, and you kind of see, like, the world kind of spinning out of control because this portal is allowing other people from a different dimension into, this Earth. I think that would be so freaking dope. I would lose my mind if all you see is like she's freaking out because everything was in her head, none of it's real. Her power, you see her power starting to kind of go out of control. And then she just, you kind of see it end to where she kind of just like falls to her knees and like she kind of sees something. And then she kind of gets up and then she kind of whispers mutants. And then you see like a portal open and then it just fades to black. I would lose my mind. I would go crazy because I would say, this is how you introduce the mutants to where you don't have to say they've always been on this Earth. Wanda kind of created an alternate universe where they physically manifested themselves out of it, and now they exist here. Charles is still old. Magneto is still old. The X-Men are obviously early to mid-20s. I think that'd be a great way to do it.
Yeah, you do the reverse House of M. That would be pretty amazing. I would not be opposed to seeing that happen in WandaVision. I think either WandaVision or Doctor Strange 2 are your gateways to mutants, and I think everybody knows that. So I wonder if Feige and the rest of the creative team are aware of that and like, oh, well, now maybe we don't do it this way. But yeah, that's the perfect example right there. That's exactly how you get it in there. It's built in, essentially. I do think, I mean, you have a movie coming out, The Multiverse of Madness, and you'd be silly not to show a universe where mutants are the predominant species. The Homo superior has taken over, or they're more welcome in that universe, and maybe they get thrown into our universe and everyone fears them. Now they're on the run. There's so many ways to do it, and I mean, now you got me psyched up because I want that very badly. Right? It sounds dope, right? When I was picturing it in my head, because when I said it last week on the show, Dom was getting hyped. Dom was like, I kind of freaking love that. And I'm like, I'm hyping myself up about that. I'm starting to love it. But yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things. Say it again. I'm on board. Sign me up. Heck yeah. So just remember, if it happens, I theorized it. I didn't know it was going to happen. I theorized it. So if it actually happens, I'd love it. Even though we just said before that's why I said we got to start, our pre-production has to start we have to start recording that because our pre-production is hilarious. My dad actually just texted me and was saying, like, will we ever talk about, like, how shocked he was to see that Fury in that movie was a Skrull. And I'm like, we just talked about that before the show because I was saying how much I hated that they didn't stick with the idea of Fury being a Skrull. Because I always thought Winter Soldier, when Fury got shot and quote unquote died, that's the perfect time where you say he got swapped. That is the perfect time. I was actually upset that when I thought he died, that they didn't just have him as the doctors were like trying to resuscitate him, like when it showed that he died. I was like, yo, how dope would it be if he just turned green? Like, I remember sitting there in the theater like, yo, is he gonna turn green? And then he didn't. I'm like, all right, okay, that sucked. And then when I saw he was still alive, I'm like, yo, what if he's a Skrull? And then Far From Home came, and it was like he just recently had switched into a Skrull, and I'm like, this sucks. I'm like, he knew that I wanted that. Feige knew that I wanted that. Was like, nah, you're not getting it. Can't get it all. Yeah, you can't get it all. But all right, let's move on. I want to talk about something a little serious here. We know the worldwide issue of coronavirus is legit destroying the entire year of 2020. Please, everyone, stay safe, sanitary, wash your hands. Don't just be hugging all over people. Be aware of where you're going. Please watch your kids. I saw a kid with his mouth on the nozzle of a Slurpee machine. So, like, watch your kids, please. But yes, this is a time where we need to stay safe, stay together, stay sane. Don't go crazy. Try not to watch the news all the time. But more specifically for us, Dan, they canceled sports. They canceled movie releases. they canceled filming of shows. What is the biggest thing that has been affected by this coronavirus that has upset you so far? Jeez. Like, I mean, personally, it's affected my work. But I know people. I used to work in sports, and they shut down the busiest time of year for what was our job, the March Madness tournament. That made us so much money when I worked that thing. I loved it. I loved working March Madness, and now I have friends who don't have a job. Essentially, they're done from now until the next football season. So I mean that hit them hard. Essentially, I'm the only one at work who can do a certain job, so I'm on my own there. And then yesterday I had to go see The Hunt because there's really nothing else out. I don't know what else to do. Someone posted on Twitter that, if this trend keeps up, the only comic book movie to come out this year would have been Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey, and by default it would have been the best of the year, and I can't have that. I can't. That movie does not deserve to be the best.
Oh,
right?
Come on, Dan.
No, we don't see eye to eye on this one. That movie sucked so hard. I will fight that to the dying day.
Okay. No, hold on, because now this is a new conversation. I need to know, what did you not like about that movie?
I thought the character representations were pretty terrible. I will say the action was pretty cool. I like the action. The police precinct fight with Harley was awesome, and then the final fight was terrible. Cassandra Cain, they could not have gotten that character worse. Every man is bad in that movie, so that's kind of like, oh yeah, we get it. We suck. I understand. It was just messy to me. It was it wasn't a coherent story. Huntress was wasted. I don't really understand why they chose to have Rosie Perez as a alcoholic cop when her character, I don't believe, is an alcoholic. I think she's a well-respected member of the GCPD, and then they turn her into a joke. But I like Rosie Perez overall. I think she's always been a favorite of mine. But yeah, the movie it was really, really messy, and not in a good fun way to me.
Let me go in order here. Not in order. I'm sorry. Let me attack everything that you presented. The Rosie Perez thing to me was fine because you were supposed to be, the underlining story was supposed to be all these women were having the worst day of their lives. And it was the idea of them coming together. So if you went the route of her being the most respected cop, it's then kind of hard to show that it completely flipped, even if you still go the route of, well, Black Mass had everyone in his pocket. So I think it was supposed to represent every one of them has gone through the worst day possible. And that, the event of that is what brought them together. I'll say this, the representation, I maybe isn't exactly what I was expecting, but I don't have a problem with it because we don't have anything to go off of Canary or Huntress. We've only seen them in cartoons. I don't count what Arrow did because it took 4 actors, I'm exaggerating, only 3, but it took 3 actors to get one character right. So we've not seen a proper representation of Black Canary. So that's why I'm like, you're free to do whatever you want with the characters. I was more upset that you gave Renee Montoya Black Canary's black leather jacket. Renee Montoya is not a bird of prey. She should not be part of that goddamn team. If you weren't going to introduce Barbara, don't have it be the 3 of them. That, like, you could have just had Renee Montoya go back to her job as a cop, and she would work on a few missions as a cop with the actual birds of prey. That's what it should have been. The idea that you thought it was smart to make Renee Montoya part of this team, she looks so out of sync at the end where you see the 3 of them like looking accurate in their outfits, well, except for Renee Montoya, but Black Canary and Huntress looking really good in their accurate costumes. And then Renee Montoya, old Rosie Perez trying to fight with it looked gross. As far as the story, seemed like it was supposed to be all over the place. I'm going to say it had to have been planned only because there's just no excuse for a movie to be that out of place, and it wasn't something you meant for it to be. So I'm going to give Kathy in a little bit of leeway on that and assume that's what the plan was. I just didn't have any issues with this movie really, besides you killing off Black Mask. Outside of that, I didn't really have any issues, mainly because the idea of you making this movie was the mistake. Harley Quinn should never be part of the Birds of Prey. Harley Quinn shouldn't be how you introduce the Birds of Prey. Renee Montoya is not part of the Birds of Prey. Why they didn't just go the route, well, I assume the reason why they didn't go the route of Gotham City Sirens first is because Matt Reeves is using Catwoman, and they didn't want to confuse people, mainly because we don't even know if it's in the same universe. I get that.
Right.
Still, Gotham City Sirens should have come first. It ends with you showing Dinah, you showing Barbara, and you showing Huntress. And then you make a Birds of Prey movie, and then you make a Birds of Prey versus Gotham City Sirens. They're doing it in reverse now, but now I don't have any interest in seeing those teams face off because I don't want to see Renee Montoya part of the Birds of Prey. It's weird. I don't want to keep saying gross because that sounds really mean. It's not gross, but it's like the only word that can keep coming out of my mouth apparently. But I hate it. I hate everything about it. But this movie to me was solid. It was solid. Could it have been better? Sure. I think it needed Joker. I don't know why it didn't have Joker. I think having Joker would have played more to Harley. A lot about it shouldn't have been the way that it was, but it was very entertaining. I left this movie the same way I left Venom. I walked into Venom going, Venom without Spider-Man, there's no way you could do that. Like, how is that going to work? And then I left that movie going, was it the best it could have been? No. Was it necessary that this movie be made now? No. But was I entertained? Yeah. You did She-Venom. You mentioned J. Jonah Jameson's son coming from outer space, crashing, and that's where the symbiote came from. She-Venom, accurate. Eddie, you mentioned that Eddie came from New York, accurate. So I'm like, you were hitting points for me that I was like, how are they going to do this? So, I mean, you entertained me. Birds of Prey, Huntress looked great. Black Canary looked great. When she did her canary cry, I almost cried. I'm like, to see this in live action is freaking epic. The only thing that would have made Black Canary's art so much better is if Harley had asked her, like, are you seeing anyone? And she's like, I'm talking to this guy named Oliver. He's some kind of big deal. I would have thrown my popcorn in the air and did cartwheels. Because Oliver was the only thing missing from the story. But outside of that, I honestly didn't have any real issues with this movie, Dan. So, I mean, I'm not going to argue your point on you weren't a fan of it at all. I can understand it. I'm just saying there wasn't enough to really bug me. Like, for example, this isn't really a spoiler. Were you going to go see Bloodshot?
No, I had no plans on it.
Do you know about Bloodshot?
Very, very little. But so
okay, you know how Bloodshot looks, right? You know how he looks, though, right? Okay.
Yes.
He only looked like that 5 minutes out of the entire movie. 5 minutes.
Bummer.
That to me is irreprehensible, more so than anything Birds of Prey did.
Because it's Vin Diesel, right? I mean, Vin Diesel wants to look like Vin Diesel for as much as he can.
Well, here's the thing. If you just went all pale, like how Bloodshot actually looks, you still look like Vin Diesel. It's not a mask. You don't wear a mask.
That's true. That's true, right? He's not.
So I'm like, you still look like Vin Diesel. Yeah, I'm like, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, my biggest issue, like, I always hated Robert Downey Jr. because I'm like, I didn't like how he kept forcing us to see his face, even in the Iron Man costume. I'm like, no, it's okay. I want to just see Iron Man. I don't want to see your head. And it was his way of saying, I gave you guys the mask. So, like, I'm in the suit. You don't see me with the suit off or the helmet off, but you're going to see my face. I hated that. I hated it so much. It'd be the equivalent of Peter putting on the Spider-Man mask and then me seeing Peter Parker all movie. Get out of there. I just want to see full Spider-Man. But that's really what bothered me. But like I said, I completely respect where you're coming from. Birds of Prey was not a perfect movie by any stretch of the means. It could have gotten a lot riskier. It could have taken a little bit more liberties. It could have trimmed some of the fat. And it damn sure could have kept Black Mask alive. So, I mean, outside of those things, like I said, it entertained me, and that was the biggest thing I was looking for, heading into that movie. Can I leave this movie saying I didn't waste my money? Feel that way. So I'm like, I felt okay with that. I felt okay with that. But I completely respect where you're coming from, man. It could have been better. I am just more, I'm fine if this is the only superhero movie of the year. I'm okay with that. But I can understand how you aren't.
Oh, man, that's upsetting. That's upsetting to hear. But listen, to each their own. I get it. If you enjoyed it, that's awesome. And I told some of my friends who also enjoyed it, that's great. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. But my wife and I, when we saw it, we looked at each other when it ended, and we're just like, what the hell did we just watch? It's my wife had a good point, and you touched on it very briefly. The villain of that movie should have been Joker. It makes so much more sense than Black Mask. And for the love of me, I have no idea why they separate themselves from the Jared Leto Joker in this movie. You get you get the cartoon in the beginning, and it's the classic Joker. Okay, so they did two things. They did one thing to where if Jared Leto doesn't come back, great, because what you saw looked nothing like Jared Leto's Joker. So you allow yourself to recast. So that's the one thing they did. The second thing, even though I don't agree with it, the second thing was they were not willing to double down on Joker. Joker, the movie, had just came out in October. They weren't going to give it to you again in February. Warner Brothers is very taboo about that. They don't like it. They don't want it. And you'll probably never see it. Like you won't get a Lex Luthor movie in August and then in March see him again in a Superman movie. They won't do it. They won't do it. They don't want to cause any confusion. They don't want people to go, wait a minute, are they the same person? They won't do it. I agree with you. I said they should have went Joker as the main villain. I also said you could have just had him in the movie, not even as the main villain. You could have just had a moment to where, he kind of comes out. The Harley is really celebrating. She's like, I finally got my emancipation. You hear his wicked laugh, and he's clapping as he comes out of the shadows. And he's like, so you think you could do this on your own, huh? And then it just fades to black. And now you're like, what happens now? Like, does she go back to him? What happens? You could have just played with it a little like that. Just had a little fun with it. I don't know. I agree with you. I would have preferred it, but I love Ewan, so I'm glad we got him. Because if not for this movie, I can almost guarantee you we probably would have never seen Black Mask used. I don't think anyone was really in a rush to use Black Mask. And Victor Zsasz. I freaking love Victor Zsasz. I was like, you gave me two characters in a Batman mythos I never thought I would see. So, I mean, you got to take the good with the bad. And the good was Ewan McGregor was amazing. And the bad was he died. I thought that they turned Victor Zsasz into, like, Mr. Smithers, where he's, like, constantly like, oh, yeah, no, you're right. You're right, Mr. Sionis. You're right. This is how it's supposed to be. It's just like, this guy's a homicidal maniac. And you see it. You do see him peel people's faces off. So I'm not going to say they got him wrong because they didn't. But they kind of turn him into a little, like a sycophant. So I liked his character overall. I thought it was pretty good. To me, if they're building off of Harley from Suicide Squad, and in that movie, the Joker doesn't treat her badly, right? He goes out of his way to help her, right? And you don't get that like, he treats her like crap. So now all of a sudden they break up in this, and you're like, well, where did that come from? Like, I know the hardcore comic book fans know that she's in a terrible relationship with him, and he just uses her. But I don't know if you saw any of the Harley Quinn TV show, the cartoon show.
Yeah, I saw the whole season. Yeah, we actually got screeners for it a few months ago.
Oh, sweet. So there's a part where they set up a trap to see who Joker will save, Batman or Harley, and he chooses Batman. So if you could have done something like that and just been like, it could have been like a 5-minute scene where instead of it just being an exposition dump, you have it where, I care more about Batman than you. I'll ever care about you, Harley. And then that's why she emancipates herself. And now, if you want to keep going Black Mask, go for that.
I do not disagree with you at all. The last time we saw Harley and Joker, he's breaking into a highly secured prison for her. So I'm like, this is the guy you want to emancipate yourself from? Now, I know comically this is the guy that treats you horribly. But in this universe, he seems like he really loves you. I mean, he did try to maybe kind of like pass her off to Tattoo Man in Suicide Squad. I don't know if he really meant it or if he was just baiting him. I don't know. It was a really weird scene. But, it didn't really set itself up. And then I thought what was weird was that they doubled down on it in Birds of Prey, where she mentions, the last time, I think, I could be wrong, but I could have sworn she was mentioning the events of Suicide Squad. And I'm like, I could have sworn he was doing everything and save you. And it was like, when did it go wrong? But again, hence why that movie should not have had Harley Quinn in it. So I get why it did, because you can't market Birds of Prey because no one knows who the hell they are. So you need a linchpin in there that can get people like, oh, I'll go see it. That was Harley Quinn. I get that. Problem is, we now have people think Birds of Prey involves Harley Quinn. It does not. It also does not involve Renee Montoya. It involves Barbara Gordon. So, a lot of that was just yucky. But, we'll agree on that. We'll definitely agree on that. But, all right. Let's move on. I want to talk – this is what I wanted to bring up to you. So, we saw basketball canceled, football canceled. I just very weirdly watched SmackDown with no crowd, and it was the most cringy television I think I've ever watched. I don't know how long they're going to last with that. They're now talking about the state of Florida might actually tell them that they can't do WrestleMania unless Vince makes up a decision soon. They're going to just shut it down on their own. This is like legit crushing everything. I'm like, basketball was getting really good. We're heading towards the playoffs. Football is heading into free agency. XFL was doing really well. I'm like, it was a really cool time. And then out of nowhere, it's like, hey, everything you guys were enjoying, gone.
Yeah, shut it down.
So, we're shutting it down completely. So, we heard from basketball, they're going to reevaluate after 30 days. I just heard today that they're talking about bringing basketball back towards June, resuming basketball towards June. So that's the even crazier part. So it's like, if this virus is gone before the end of the year, how do you do a new season of basketball if you end your season, let's say July or August? We going to tell the players, hey guys, 5 days and then get ready to play basketball again. I don't know how any of that's going to work. This is crazy. But yeah, I wanted to ask you, what basketball, football, hockey, even though I feel like hockey's going to be right back up before we know it. But out of all these sports, which one are you really eager to get back?
Well, they're I think baseball has been delayed. They're pushing back the opening day 2 weeks. So I'm a big baseball fan. I was really looking forward to seeing how people trash the Astros this year, and now I feel like everyone's going to just kind of forget about it, and they're going to get off scot-free again. So we can't have that. We got to have it back to where, we're making fun of the Astros and baseball's in full swing. to. I want baseball to start. We're supposed to have our fantasy baseball draft next weekend. Now that's up in the air. We're in turmoil here, man. Everything is going crazy.
Yeah, no, I'm completely with you, man. I mean, like I was saying, basketball is heating up. I was more looking forward to NFL free agency, which looks like it's still going to happen. Obviously, you can't wine and dine players. You have to have a really good phone call. It's what it looks like. Is what it looks like you're going to have. You're going to have to say, hey, man, this is everything we can do for you. We can't show you anything because we're on a phone call. But, you know, it's just really uncomfortable. And like I said, I was looking forward to WrestleMania, which I can almost say is not going to happen. Friday Night SmackDown was so uncomfortable to watch. Triple H did his best to make that as entertaining as possible. Stone Cold comes back tomorrow night, and it looks like they're not going to have a crowd again. So I'm interested to see how that's going to look. It's just really uncomfortable, man. You telling me basketball is going to be played with no crowd, comes back, no crowd. Like, I don't know. A lot of it is just really weird. Really weird. We saw that Fast and Furious got pushed back a whole year. They weren't even interested in waiting to see if they could put it out this year. They're like, no.
Same thing with the
we'll
Quiet
put
Place
it out
too.
next April. Yeah, Quiet Place too, yeah.
I mean, why are they? I don't understand why. I guess because the further you push back, the more crowded the schedule gets, and I guess the more it hurts the box office. But yeah, I'm surprised that they've decided to go a full year.
I don't get why they went a full year, mainly because the sequel was supposed to come out, next year. So now you're pushing that back 2 years. So you're seemingly saying you're going to have to film next year instead of filming this year, which I guess to them is no big deal. And I mean, I personally am not beating down the door for a Fast and Furious movie. So it could have came out 5 years from now, and I would have said that's too soon. But it's just interesting that Universal is like, no, we'll put it out next year. It's like, next year? I'm sure you paid for like all kinds of stuff to promote this movie for this year. You don't have to say, hey, take all that money, put it on hold, push it to next year. I'm more interested in seeing Morbius is supposed to come out soon. Do you drop a second trailer? Venom 2 comes out. It's supposed to come out this year, but I thought filming was done. Joel's telling me he thought filming was still going on. I don't know.
Maybe reshoots.
So I'm like, I thought they were completely done. Done. Obviously, they could have said we want to go back and do some reshoots or whatever, but I thought they were completely done. So I was looking at it like they should be dropping a trailer soon. But now you look at it and you're like, we were supposed to be getting the Batman trailer in July. Eternals trailer. I'm trying to think what else. Falcon and Winter Soldier full trailer, WandaVision full trailer. We would have had an extended look at Loki. So much footage was supposed to be coming. We were supposed to be getting, and we still could, a first official look at The Rock in the Black Adam costume. Like, all this was supposed to be San Diego Comic-Con. We were supposed to get an updated look at what Barry is going to look like for his Flash solo at San Diego Comic-Con. And if that is canceled, I don't know what happens now with anything, honestly. I don't know if Warner Brothers just releases it for everyone. I don't know. So it's like this coronavirus is legit for geeks. Geeks alone. Forget sports. Just geeks. It legit is making us go, why do I even wake up every day? Like, what are you making me look forward to every day as a geek when you're just ripping everything away from us? So now that Falcon and Winter Soldier, put a halt on filming, I don't even know if that's still coming out in August. That could be pushed back, which would make WandaVision push back, which would make Loki push back. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know, man. I have no idea what's going on with this. But speaking of Falcon and Winter Soldier, I wanted to mention this to you. I thought it was really cool. I thought you would like it. They had their investors meeting, Disney did, where obviously they're stock shareholders or whatever, and they show the trailer of Falcon and Winter Soldier. And it was not released to the public, obviously, but I know what the trailer was. And, again, This is kind of like paraphrasing. This isn't legit scene for scene, but the trailer apparently goes like this. It starts off with Bucky visiting Baron Zemo. Baron Zemo obviously is still locked up. He's visiting him because he's telling him that he's hearing that someone is trying to start up the Super Soldier Project again. Zemo tries to use the same codes that he did in the Civil War to kind of brainwash Bucky. Obviously, we know Shuri did a good job because it doesn't work. We then see Bucky and Falcon arguing because Bucky's telling Falcon, we were friends by circumstance together. We're not actually friends. And they kind of have that kind of pull, that kind of struggle between each other because Cap is what made them friends, but they're not actually friends. Like, if you think about it, they're not really friends at all. So we see that struggle. We see that Ross is behind the new Captain America. He gives this new Captain America the Super Soldier serum. And we also see that it seemingly looks like Zemo and Ross are forming the Thunderbolts with this USS agent that he will become the USS agent, but seemingly for this show, he's supposed to be the new Captain America. We see Falcon struggle with being Captain America so much so he doesn't even want the shield. And apparently he loses the shield, and the USS agent has the actual Captain America shield. Like, that's not a replica. That's that actual shield that they get a hold of. And obviously Falcon and Bucky team up to get the shield back and to stop this fake imposter Cap. That seemingly is the feel of what this new season is supposed to be about. He really gets up in arms when he finds out that there was another Captain America. They're trying to make more Captain Americas. But Ross is not a fan of the fact that Captain America selected his replacement. That's why Ross thought it was important that the government selects Cap's replacement. And that's where we get the USS agent. So that essentially was the feel of the trailer. Our cut when we get the trailer will probably be along the same lines of that, but probably a little different. But this show seems like it's going to be so much fun. It's going to be entertaining. It's going to be action-driven. So I wanted to ask you, what is the biggest thing you're looking forward to of Falcon and Winter Soldier?
Okay, so two things that I'm looking forward to. Baron Zemo. I think they laid the groundwork for him in Civil War very well. He's still one of my favorite villains from the MCU. And I know a lot of my friends kind of give me that sideways look, like, oh, I can't even remember what he did, but he was able to defeat the Avengers without really lifting a finger. I love how he was able to play the mind game so well. So I think he's going to do more of the same with Falcon and Winter Soldier, probably try to just divide them. And the second thing I'm looking forward to is just Bucky and Sam's interaction with each other, because, again, you get a taste of it in Civil War and a little bit in Infinity War, but not really a lot. But I just like that, you know, they're the odd couple of the MCU, I'd imagine. You know, they don't really get along, but they do it just for work. And they had some funny banter, and I think we're going to get a lot of that as well. So I think that's going to be the driving force for me watching this show, and I am very excited for it. I love that Sam is Captain America because, you know, in the comic books that's how it goes, and Sam is more than deserving to bear the shield. And I think, again, I have friends who are like, well, he's not a superhero really. He just has a jetpack, and he doesn't have any special powers. Well, it's not about the powers. It's about what he believes in and his resolve and how he's a good man, and that's all Cap cared about when he was handing the shield over. So I look forward to seeing that. You know, I imagine Sam is going to struggle with being Captain America, especially the way the country is divided now. And I don't know if they're going to kind of delve into that, like, oh, a black Captain America. Well, that you can't have that. So maybe that'll mess with his mind a little bit. Like, yeah, he's not good enough. And then, obviously we know that he's more than deserving. So I'm excited to see if they play that way. And I'm excited. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I would hate if Marvel didn't touch on race. 'Cause that's important. You saying, you don't like who Cap picked, so you go out and find another white Captain America. That's essentially you saying, we kind of like the white face that was Captain America, and we kind of want to go with that. So I need you to touch on it. I don't need you to make it the plot of the season, but I need you to address it. Don't ignore it. I mean, that's blatant. That's blatant. And what a lot of people don't know is in the comics, there were two Captain Americas. One of them happened to be black. So I'm like, this is very apropos that in the comics, Cap had passed it off to Sam, who's black, and they're going with that in the MCU. I'm like, again, I don't need, just like it was my issue with Supergirl when it was like, it's girl power. Girl power so much so, it made sure you knew how horrible men were. And it was like, no, we get it. No, we get it. Okay, no, I get it. You can stop now. I don't need you to go that far. But just touch on it. Don't ignore it. Let us know that you're comfortable with the decision that you made, which is making your new Captain America black. So I am curious about that also. But I'm with you, man. I love Zemo. To me, I don't get anyone who has anything bad to say about Zemo, mainly because he's one of the only ones that is still alive out of the Avengers villains. So I'm like, someone could go, oh, man, well, I thought Killmonger was better. No, I mean, possibly, but he's dead. So what can he do now? Zemo's still alive. Zemo found a way to destroy the Avengers and not die. Think about that.
Yeah, that's a huge win.
That is a huge win. Like, you know how many of these Avengers villains would have loved to have just been locked up? Thanos would have loved to have been locked up with the opportunity to get revenge. I'm sure he didn't want to die. I'm sure Killmonger didn't want to die. Yeah, I'm sure Ironmonger didn't want to die. So I'm like, yeah, I mean, if you're Zemo, you're like, this is a win. I get an opportunity at some point to, maybe break out of here. So I'm like, yeah, that was a win for him. But all right, let's move on. We got a few more stuff. Apparently, according to Vin Diesel, who maybe should have focused more on accuracy of Bloodshot than talking about Guardians, but apparently, from Vin Diesel's lips, Guardians of the Galaxy will be in Thor 4. This kind of seems more like James Gunn was like, hey, I had my script already, and it didn't involve Thor. And Feige was like, well, fine, if you're not going to put Thor in Guardians, we'll put Guardians in Thor, so we can get a payoff of the end of Endgame. I do believe the scene will only be them dropping Thor off and having like a funny back and forth with him. That is it. I don't think you'll see the Guardians help Thor fight. I don't think you'll see anything else besides that. But what are your thoughts on Vin Diesel confirming the Guardians of the Galaxy will be in Thor 4?
I'm with you. I believe that you're either going to see just them having a little, some quips, and then they drop them off to his next adventure, or maybe you see where sort of like in Guardians of the Galaxy 2 when they're getting ready to fight a big monster, and it's just like a really quick opening. Maybe because Thor has nowhere to be, so maybe like, yeah, I'll fight with you for a little bit, and there's just the opening scene of them taking down a monster real quick, and then they're off. Guardians are off to their next thing. To me, it did seem kind of weird, but I wonder if it's because, Hemsworth, I don't know what his contract is really at this point, but maybe it's just like, yeah, we don't have him after this movie, so we got to get this in now because he's not going to be around for the Guardians movie. So I don't know, but it's cool, but am I super pumped for it? Not necessarily. you kind of knew that they were going to pay a little bit of a callback to that end scene in Endgame. So either way, it's a fun little cameo, probably nothing major, and that's why Marvel hasn't murdered Vin Diesel yet. So if it was something big, I would imagine, hey, has anyone seen Vin Diesel around these past few days? No, oh no, he's gone missing. Yeah, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I didn't really get super excited because I think it's only going to be a cameo. I don't even think it'll be a fight scene. I think it'll just be some quips back and forth, mainly between, obviously, Star-Lord and Thor. I think that's literally the extent of it. I don't think it'll be anything more than that. So all this is just confirming us that we get a payoff from Endgame. So that's all I leave it at. But all right, let's move on. We kind of already touched on this, so we can kind of breeze through it. But you alluded to it earlier. Mark Ruffalo officially returning as Bruce Banner for the She-Hulk series. How do you feel about that?
It's cool. You got to have it, I think. Obviously, Jennifer gets her powers from a blood transfusion from Bruce, so you got to show that, I would imagine. So maybe he kind of takes on a mentor role for Jennifer, where she morphs into the Hulk or She-Hulk, and she doesn't know what to do, and Banner kind of just has to sit her down and tell her, like, a lot of people are going to be afraid of you, but you can control yours, and you don't have to be a monster kind of thing. So I don't see him, because, again, we have a very declawed Hulk in the MCU now. So I can't imagine him getting into any fisticuffs in this series. All that's going to be left to She-Hulk. So, again, I don't think it's awesome that he's in it. I like that because you just keep tying it in. But at the same time, don't expect too much from Ruffalo.
He had to be there because we know in the comics, Jennifer, I think, gets injured or something, and she needs blood. Right. So Banner gives her his blood, which ultimately then turns her into She-Hulk. So I'm like, I don't know how anyone thought Disney could do that without Hulk. I mean, I guess you could allude to it and not show it, but then it's like, well, then don't even do the show. I'm glad they're sticking to the accuracy of it. They said it's going to be very accurate to the comics, which makes me very happy. I do think there is a way to redeem Hulk to be what we want him to be, even though it won't ever be Savage Hulk. Re-expose him to gamma radiation. I mean, it's as simple as that. Re-expose him to gamma radiation. It kind of makes him more so like the Hulk from Ragnarok more than the Hulk from Endgame. And I think that's a healthy balance. I could live with that. A Hulk that's more like, give me a good fight than he is, let's play chess. I'd rather that Hulk than the one that we have now. But no, I mean, I would love to see Hulk, She-Hulk versus Red Hulk as the season finale. I would love that. I would freaking love that. I think that would be very perfect. And I think there's a possibility we could get it. I doubt it, but it's a possibility. Something to look forward to. But until we hear that Ross is in it, probably unlikely. But I mean, I'm holding out hope that that's a possibility of something we can get. But who knows? Who knows? I'm not really putting much stock in that, but, wanted to put it out there. Maybe Feige could hear us. But, yeah. All right. You have anything else to add about this?
Yeah. I would like to see them team up against the Red Hulk. That'd be cool. Or maybe she goes up against, maybe you're right. Maybe he gets a dose of gamma radiation and he freaks out and it's Hulk versus She-Hulk and she has to take him down a few pegs. I'd be all for that. I think she is a very interesting character. Even in the comics, she's very complicated. She's a lawyer. She's an Avenger. She was part of the Fantastic Four at one point. So she's been around in a good way, not in a bad way. I'm not saying that. She's a very well-respected character in the Marvel comics. So I think you got to give her that same love and care that they do in the comics. And she's not a brute. She's actually extremely intelligent and fierce. So I hope they bring all that into the show, and I think they will.
So, man, let's hope so. The biggest thing I'm looking forward to is the season ending with, I think it's Jennifer. I think that's her name, Jennifer. I think it's Jennifer. Jennifer, like, you know, actually becoming a lawyer and her receptionist going, we have a, you know, someone's out here looking for you. And she's like, you know, what's the name? I'm busy. And she's like, you know, you hear the receptionist go, name please, and then the receptionist goes back to Jennifer. We have a May Parker waiting for you. If I heard that, I swear to God, I'm doing cartwheels in that theater, man. I'm going crazy.
Yeah. That would be pretty cool. That would be awesome. Yeah, because I know that there was the rumor that maybe Mr. Murphy would represent Peter, but either one. If you get either of those guys in there, you got me.
Yeah, I think that's the best route to go because you connect it and you're kind of showing, you know, and that would be a huge first case for her. Like as a superhero representing superheroes, that's a huge case. Defending Spider-Man. Yeah. And we know from the Morbius set photos that he's missing. You know, we don't know for how long. We don't know if it's been months, years, however long. So I'm like, maybe Aunt May feels as though a lawyer is the best way to defend Peter and, you know, clear his name. So I'm like, there's so many ways you can go with it. But if this show ends with, we have a May Parker out here for you, and then, you know, you don't really see Aunt May. Or even if Marissa Tomei did make a small-time cameo for this, I'd lose my mind.
Yeah, I'm with you. I would also lose my mind.
All right, we got a few more topics before I let you get out of here. I want to start with, this one's very important. I want to make sure I get this in for you specifically. Last of Us series for HBO coming after, I believe they said they're going to start working on it after they get the second game out, which apparently looks like that probably won't even be this year. But what are your thoughts on them actually surprisingly coming out of nowhere and doing a Last of Us series?
I think a lot of this has to do with the success of The Witcher, because I had heard rumors a while ago that they were talking about possibly making a movie out of The Last of Us. And you gotta, if you're going to do a video game adaptation, I think streaming is the way to go. Or you know, like HBO or whatever, Netflix, what have you. I think that game definitely lends itself to a series. It's such a good game with really interesting characters, very intense, very scary at times. So you can kind of go the Walking Dead route with the clickers, I believe they're called. Yeah, I mean, someone even mentioned that they could get Nikolaj Waldau. I forget how you say he played Jaime Lannister in Game of Thrones. You can get him for the series, and like, yeah, man, he's awesome. I love him. You get him in anything, I like it. So this series, I think, has a lot of potential to just knock everyone's socks off, and if this succeeds, you're going to see more and more video game adaptations just go to streaming. And to me, that's the way to go.
Yeah, I think this show has potential to be way better version of Walking Dead. Obviously, the budget will be a lot bigger. Obviously, the platform is a lot bigger. Obviously, I'd even say the name of Last of Us more recently is bigger than the name of Walking Dead. And your casting has to be spot on. I don't think it necessarily has to be big names. Like a lot of people were saying, just do Logan. But for Last of Us, I wouldn't hate it, but it would feel too much like Logan. Because essentially the story of Last of Us kind of feels like the exact story of Logan. So I'm like, I don't know if I'd like to see Daphne Keane and Hugh Jackman team up again for this. I wouldn't hate it. Because they look just like the characters. So I'm like, yeah, that'd actually be pretty dope. I really don't have a preference on who I'd like to see play it. I've never played the game because I don't have PlayStation. I have Xbox. But I love to watch cutscenes. So I've watched the cutscenes for the entire game, and I love the story of it. Excuse me. And I'm looking forward to this. I mean, HBO has been on a hot streak. Outsiders, great. Watchmen, great. So I'm like, they could do really, really, really good things with this. And what makes this so much fun for the people writing this story, think of it like this. Last of Us, unless I completely missed out on something, isn't a comic book. It's only a game. So they could legit do anything with the story that they want because it's based off of the game. So all we'll know by the time the show comes out is what we saw in the first game and the second game. Nothing else. So it's like we don't have to hold them to, oh, you weren't accurate. Dude, I mean, you don't even know what we're basing any of this off of. And what will be interesting to see is if they continue to make games, will the games be what sets up the show? Will the show at one point be what sets up the game? It'll just be really interesting to see that. Will they take any liberties? Because you don't want to make an exact, replica of the game into the movie. You want to kind of change it up a little bit, make it a little bit more mainstream. So people who've never heard of this will be interested in it. So it'll be interesting to see some of the liberties that it takes. But I'm really looking forward to this. And this is definitely a great project for HBO to take on, especially if we're not getting another season of Watchmen. This is a great follow-up for them. All right. Let's move on. Richard E. Grant cast in Loki for one episode. Apparently some of the rumors are saying he will be in a costume. What are your thoughts on who Richard E. Grant could be playing?
I had heard a rumor, and I think this would fit very well with the whole idea of time travel, is Kang the Conqueror. And that's all I have, really. I don't know who else it could be. I like that.
Yeah,
go ahead. I'm done. I don't know who else it could be, honestly.
No, I don't. You know how much I love to theorize. I haven't even given this a second thought. I could 100% see him as Kang. I still would prefer Michael Shannon because he looks exactly like Kang. You wouldn't even really have to do that much makeup. He legit looks exactly like Kang the Conqueror.
He's crazy.
But because to me, my biggest thing with Richard E. Grant was I was very disappointed J.J. Abrams didn't make Richard E. Grant. Thrawn. Admiral Thrawn. I was very disappointed because I'm like, he looks just like him. Why wouldn't you make him Thrawn? So I was disappointed in that. So now I'm like, anytime I hear Richard E. Grant's name, I don't want to get my hopes up. So I'm like, I don't want to go, oh, he's definitely Kang. They're going to set him up for the future, and then he's just some idiot in the show. So I'm like, and everyone, I hate when people say, you don't get an actor like that and then waste them. Idris Elba was Heimdall and did nothing for 3 movies, So yeah. I like to remind people of that. So it could happen. It 100% could happen. And it could very well be a cameo where maybe he's a younger Odin or maybe he's whatever. There's just so many different things they could do. There is a possibility they bring in a big name like that, and it's nothing. It has nothing to do with the future of the MCU. So I'm not getting my hopes up, but Kang would make the most sense. So here's to that. All right, we got 3 more topics. Jesse Eisenberg said he would love to play Lex again. Are you interested in that at all?
No. He can. That character can go die a slow death for all I care. That was probably. I know you like that movie, so I'm not gonna be harsh. Even though I said it could die a slow death, that's pretty harsh.
I'm like, you can't get any worse than that.
No. Yeah, the cat's out of the bag on that one. I was not a fan of his portrayal. He was more creepy than genius, honestly. It was just kind of the way he would play with that guy and the Jolly Rancher and talking about pee in a jar. And he really turned me off from that role. I like Jesse Eisenberg as an actor. I just think he was given the wrong direction with the character, and I nothing from Batman v Superman left me wanting more of Lex Luthor in any capacity, let alone from Jesse Eisenberg. It was just, I'm kind of over his portrayal of it. And I don't know why this was brought up. Like, who would have asked if he wanted to do this again? Because it's been years now, right? 2015, I think, 2016?
Well, unfortunately, as long as these Snyder Cult idiots exist, anyone that is somewhat of a geek will ask him about the Snyder Cut, which then will result in asking him, we haven't heard anything about Superman, so if they ever did Superman, it needs a Lex. Would you come back? So that's essentially where that came from. But I'll tell you this. BVS did not leave me wanting more Lex. It left me intrigued on what they were going to do with Lex. We saw what that manifested into, and that was the end of Justice League. I was very happy with how the end of Justice League Lex looked. He looked more sure of himself. He looked more confident. He looked more like he was growing into being Lex. I was very curious on what they would do after that, only for them to completely implode the DCEU, change our Batman, completely cancel out our Superman. Heard nothing about Green Lantern. Just got Flash off of the brink of death, and then no Cyborg. Shazam exists, so I'm like, it completely imploded after the events of Justice League. But I'm curious to see what Jesse Eisenberg could do under different direction as Lex Luthor. He's a great actor. He can do Lex Luthor. I just think Zach gave him the wrong direction. That's just where my mindset is. I won't argue anyone who thinks BVS is a horrible portrayal of Lex Luthor. I wouldn't argue with you. I wouldn't argue with you at all. I would just say I was very pleased on what I saw at the end of Justice League, enough to where I'm curious to see what someone else could do with Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor. J.J. Abrams, I think, could really do great things with Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. But that's just wishful thinking of J.J. Abrams doing a Superman movie. But yeah, no, I mean, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I'm not dying for a Superman movie right now.
No.
There's other characters I think are needed. Obviously, I put Batman at the forefront every day, all day, every second. That's more important to me. Green Lantern's more important to me. Because to me, the biggest reason why I'm not in a rush for Superman is Supergirl exists. We're getting a Superman show. Outside of the Batman movie, we don't really see Batman anywhere else. Right. I'm like, if we don't get Batman in the movies, you telling me I got to just wait for cartoons every year? But with Superman, we've seen him more now than we have when Henry was still Superman. So I'm like, we've gotten a lot of Superman. I mean, hell, Crisis on Infinite Earths gave us 4 different Supermans. There are 3 different Supermans. Maybe it's 3 or 4, whatever, however many. There was more than one. So I'm like, we're good there. We're good. Superman can wait. You can wait. But I'm intrigued to see what Jesse Eisenberg could do as Lex after the events of Justice League. But all right, let's move on. Freddy vs. Jason screenwriters want to do a sequel. This excites me more than anything we've talked about all day today. I love that movie so much. I loved every second of that movie. I desperately have always wanted a sequel. I hate when studios take to do sequels. The fact that that Tom Cruise flight movie came out in the 80s and you're just now doing a sequel to that is disgusting. The fact that Bad Boys 2 came out in 2002 and you're just now releasing a third is disgusting. Tom Cruise is different because Tom Cruise looks the same now as he did in the 80s. Cool. No problem. I can live with that. Seeing a older, fatter Will Smith and Martin Lawrence for Bad Boys 3 did nothing for me. Nothing for me at all. No. No, I did not like that. But what are your thoughts? Did you enjoy Freddy vs. Jason? Would you be interested in the sequel?
Yes, actually. I did enjoy it for the most part. It's really schlocky, campy, fun. Again, that's something where you just turn your brain off for, hour and a half, hour 45, and just, let him have at it. I would like to see a sequel where we see more of them fighting, because I think you only see it twice in that movie, right? They bring Jason into the dream world, and then they fight in Camp Crystal Lake. So I would like to see a little bit more, little action between those two. But, I mean, those fights were so much fun when they actually got to fighting. And I think more care would be taken with the story overall if they did a sequel, because that story was just so ridiculous and the characters were terrible. But it's funny that you bring this up. A friend of mine and I were talking about this the other day, that I'm a big Kelly Rowland fan. And he's like, I think you're the only person in existence who's a big Kelly Rowland fan. But that was part of the appeal for why I wanted to see that movie. But that's neither here nor there really. But because you can't get her back.
I completely agree with you. I was one of the very few people that thought she was more talented singing-wise than Beyonce. So I've always been a huge Kelly Rowland fan. It's just she didn't have star power. She didn't have the backing. She didn't have any of the things that Beyonce had to launch her into stardom. I think Kelly Rowland was a better singer than Beyonce. I still think Kelly Rowland is a better singer than Beyonce. And it did not hurt to look at Kelly Rowland in that movie. Not whatsoever. Didn't hurt at all.
Very good.
Did not hurt. But that movie gave me the second best Jason kill I've ever seen, which was closing the guy up in the mattress. I still don't think that's better than when Jason rolled those three girls up in sleeping bags and killed them with each other. That was the dopest kill scene I've ever seen in my life. It was the most creative. Jason Jason in Space or Jason X.
Okay. When that also has the nitrous, right? Or the he freezes the woman's face and then smashes it. That has some good kills in it. That was a pretty funny movie.
Yes, it does. People give John Wick so much credit about the pencil kill, and I'm like, Jason did it with a sleeping bag. Like, and here's the crazier thing. Jason could have easily just strangled these chicks. Like, very easily. Strangled, gone. Stabbed, gone.
Jason was like, that's the, I'm sorry to interrupt, that's the illusion, right? Right, yeah. That's when they create the illusion for him. I forgot about that. We covered that for, they called us a movie months ago. But, oh, man, that was so funny.
Yes, it was. I remember that, and I remember saying, I don't think anyone could kill someone cooler than this. And I don't think I've seen it. I mean, closing someone up in a mattress is pretty dope. But I can't remember a death I thought was more creative than rolling chicks up in a sleeping bag and killing them with each other. Like, he didn't slam them against trees or against the ground. I think he hit them with each other, which is even funnier. That Jason is that is sick. I need a sequel to Freddy vs. Jason. That is the be all to end all. I need a sequel to that. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, what could it hurt really? And you get the two.
Nothing.
You get two iconic killers, right? Nothing. You get two iconic killers in there. I don't know if you get Robert Englund back, but I feel like you would have to, because I didn't like what's his name's portrayal. Rorschach, the guy who played Rorschach.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't remember his name.
I thought he was a fine Freddy Krueger. I just thought that was a really weird storyline for you to go with. And I think that kind of took away from. Yeah, it was. I think if you take a good actor under better leadership, maybe you get a better portrayal. I don't think he was great. But I didn't mind it. I just thought the story was very uncomfortable. I'm like, are you trying to make me, like, creeped out? Or am I supposed to just be weirded about Freddy killing people in their dreams? Because it went very, like, wasn't he like a child molester in the story?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like,
they portray it as if, like, they portray it at first as if he was, like, wrongfully accused and murdered, and then it turns out that he definitely molested children.
Really weird
like
way to go.
Yeah. It's Jackie Earle
Very
Haley,
weird.
by the way. I just remembered. But yeah,
Perfect.
I mean, if
Yep.
you get Robert Englund in this, I'd see it. Why not? You know, I got nothing better to do one weekend. I'll be there. I'll go.
I'm completely with you. I might even find a way for us to go together. I think that would be a lot
I
of
know
fun.
my go, so it's a date. We can go.
Let's do it, man. Let's do it. All right, let's get to our last topic so we can end this show. After the Squadron Supreme make their debut in Loki, it's been rumored that Marvel is looking to develop a show based around the group. I hope this isn't true. The Squadron Supreme is only best used in other shows, like against the Avengers and a Loki show. Squadron Supreme is Marvel's way of doing the Justice League. They legit, every character matches the Justice League, almost identically. And I don't really have any interest in seeing the Justice League outside of properly seeing the Justice League. So I'll probably watch it because that's our job to do so. But I really think they should focus on better things than the Squadron Supreme.
Yes, I'm with you. When I saw that story, I wasn't thrilled. I think they should probably focus more on the Thunderbolts more, because that's a more interesting team to me. I've never had any interest in Squadron Supreme, to be honest. And I don't know where you would go with it. Like you give Feige the benefit of the doubt, obviously, because of what he's done. But then sometimes you just think like, yeah, maybe you're getting a little bit too power hungry. And
yeah, for sure.
This is one of those areas where you're just like, all right, I mean, you could do it, but not many people are going to really care.
Not at all. People who care don't care. So I don't really know who your target audience is, because I'm a fan of of comics, and I know exactly who they are, and I still don't care. There's nothing about them that I'm like, yeah, I want to see more about them. No, I want to see less. Seeing them in Loki is too much. I just don't want to see rip-off Justice League when I don't even have a Justice League in my DCEU. I want to see rip-off versions of them. Now,
what happens if they do it better than the Justice League, though? Like, what if they show these characters in Loki, and everyone's just like, yeah, we got to have more of them, and it's just totally DC.
Here's the thing. One, you'll never hear me admit that. Two, there's no way you can out Justice League the Justice League. You know I'm a huge Batman fan. There's no doing Batman better than Batman. So it'll never happen. I actually had someone on Instagram say that exact same thing, like, oh, Marvel fanboys are ready to attack the Justice League when this comes out. And I'm like, they can try, but no, if the Squadron Supreme ever faced the Justice League wouldn't even need all members to kill the Squadron Supreme. Wouldn't even need them all. I think they could just go out there with Batman and Superman, maybe Wonder Woman, and get the job done. That's it. Yeah, that's all they need. Yeah, that's it. So no,
they're not.
It will never. Go ahead.
They're not a very cool group, so they could probably be taken down quite easily.
And mainly because they're legit. Like, they look exactly. Obviously not color scheme wise, because Night Owl obviously doesn't look. Or what is it? Is it Night Owl? I think it's something like that. Obviously, he doesn't look just like Batman, but the idea of the character is very Batman-esque. But I'm with you. Focus on Thunderbolts. Do that. That's what we want. We don't want Squadron Supreme. We honestly didn't even want Loki. We're getting used to it more now because of how cool it looks, but no one besides Tia was asking for more Loki. We were quite content when he died in Infinity War. We were okay with the idea that we'd never see him again. We were okay. We didn't need more.
Yeah. Again, I thought that was another fitting ending for such a great character, right? You have him where he tries to save the day, and he goes out hero-esque, and it gives Thor. It just adds to that story arc, and I mean, everyone loves Tom Hiddleston. I don't think there's anyone amongst us who thinks he's run his course necessarily. But if they had just said, "Yep, he's dead," that's the end, I would have been okay with that. But am I not going to watch the series? No, of course I'm going to watch it. I like that character, but I'm not really, I'm not begging for it. Like, oh my God, thank God the Loki's coming out. I just, I'm interested. And if I enjoy it, I enjoy it. If not, so be it.
I'm more intrigued in the show now than I was when it was first announced that they were going to be doing the show. Mainly because that Loki existing out of time is just a problem for me. I don't like it. Because I don't want to give anyone ideas on, wait, if he can go out of time and exist, then it not be a problem. Can't they go back and get Natasha or No.
Right.
No. People need to stay dead. If people don't stay dead, dying will mean nothing. Nothing.
Right. Yeah. Their sacrifices carry no weight.
Yeah, I'm like, I hated when they brought Gamora back, and everyone kept telling me, well, what did you expect? You'd her to die. She died.
Right.
They were like, well, there was a Guardians 3 that needed to happen. I'm like, well, then why would you kill her? Like, you could have easily just killed the other sister and gotten the Soul Stone. You killed Gamora for a reason. She needed to stay dead. And I think that would have been a great arc for Star-Lord existing without Gamora. How did he exist without Gamora? And when they brought her back, I'm like, God damn it. And then I'm like, all right, well, maybe they'll bring Tony back so I can get the Illuminati. Nope. Every time you hear from Robert Downey Jr., oh, no, I'm done. What? Damn it. Why won't the people who I want to stay dead, and the people that I need stay alive? It's just, again, I personally feel like Feige is attacking me. But, all right, Dan, I want you to plug, because you got a lot of stuff to plug, so I want you to get your plugs in before we wrap up the show.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. You can find me on Twitter. My personal Twitter is @DeAquino122. Come joke around with me. I'm a fun guy. You could also catch me on They Call This a Movie with my friends Mark and Anthony. Episodes air every Thursday. We are at The Main Damie on Twitter, and we're on iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher, all the good stuff. And every Wednesday you can catch me on Stranger Damies, our Real Play Dungeons and Dragons podcast, and that is @Stranger Damies on the Twitter. And again, iTunes, Podbean, all that good stuff. And obviously we are on Geek Vibes Nation. So please give us a listen on there. Visit all the good stuff that Geek Vibes Nation has, and we'll just keep this party going.
Absolutely. Make sure you guys follow them. Dan is amazing. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. It was just us, and I felt like it was so much fun. We covered all of our topics, and we went off topic like 8 times. That's what professionalism looks like. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Stay tuned, everyone. I will be interviewing one of the writers of Family Guy in the Cleveland show, so stay tuned for that. That's going to be a lot of fun. And me and Kanan are going to work on getting more interviews. We kind of took a little lull. We're working on other stuff, but that was our bread and butter. So we're going to get back to doing a lot of interviews. So stay tuned to see who we're interviewing next, because I guarantee you it'll be worth the listen. Again, thank you, Dan, and we'll see you guys same time, same place next week. Peace.
Are you tired of watching the same old awesome movies? Are B-movies more your style? Then the folks over at They Call This a Movie have you covered. Join us every Thursday as we review the worst of the worst in sci-fi, action, comedy, and more. We are available on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, and Podbean at theycallthisamovie.podbean.com. They Called This a Movie, testing the strength of friendships, one terrible movie at a time.